in need of a miracle? This is Thomas William Gardner. When I get asked, Pastor Gardner, would you pray for my son, or would you pray for my grandfather or grandmother or whoever it is? Yeah, I take it very seriously. Now, we can pray for people at any time, and if we're saved, we go directly to Jesus and directly to God, and they're our friends, and we can pray with them, and we can ask them for different things. But what do you do when somebody has a loved one in the hospital and they're really in a bad situation, and they come to you and they said, we need a miracle. We need something special. Grandpa's not going to make it, and he should have a lot of years left in him. What do we do? How do you handle that? What can we rely on? And things get pretty serious, and you want to do the right thing. And so I wrote down some things that had happened in my family, and I really wanted to share them with you today. And yes, we're going to talk about miracles, but how do you pray to Jesus? How do you talk to God when something really serious comes? I mean, a lot of us, we talk to God and Jesus during the day, and we pray, but now something has come up that's really serious. And you hear all these people say to you, God doesn't do miracles like he did, back in the Bible. It's not like that anymore. And you hear people say that. Or they say, when it's your time, it's your time. It sounds like they're, giving up on you, doesn't it? Let's cover what the basics are that's helped me through the years. And the reason I feel so driven to share this with you is because I've been in miracles. I've seen miracles. I've been there when miracles happened, and I've logged them. And I want to share them with you because I've noticed that there's like a different way to do things. And you want to, cover yourself on what the proper way to do it is. And believe me, you can go to the Lord at any time, and you can talk to Jesus anytime. But I really do believe that there is a way to go to Jesus, to go to the Lord, when somebody has 4th stage of cancer, when somebody has tuberculosis, when somebody's in the hospital and they're not given any hope, or they're given no hope at all, which has happened to me before too. Or you go to the hospital and they got tubes in them everywhere. And say, Pastor, pray for him. Go see him, Pastor. What do? I want to share what I do. First of all, we live by faith. We live by faith. So I want to explain to you what I feel that faith is and the different steps and stages of faith. And I know you've heard pastors forever, and you've had your grandmother read you the verses, and I know that you probably read the verse yourself. But what I'm talking about is I'm talking about going in and praying for somebody in the hospital, and eventually they walk out, and the doctor said they wouldn't. And everybody's coming up to see him. And that's where I've been, and that's what I wanted to share. And how do I go about that? How does that happen? I'd like to say every time I pray for somebody that it works, but I really can't say that. But what I can say, it's been an unbelievable walk. Let's cover it this way. First, we cleanse ourselves. Then we stand on faith. Then we live in expectation. And then we're in the waiting, and the waiting is for the answer. And then there's the praying, and how much are you going to pray? How much do you have to pray? And how long does it take? Everybody wants something to happen quick. Well, let me share what I do and how it takes place. First of all, not all that long ago, somebody came to me and they said, you're a pastor, and everybody likes you and cares about you, and I'm calling you because my wife's dying. And I wanted you to pray for him, and I wanted you to talk to God on what's going to happen. And I need a miracle. So you pray to God for a miracle. I know you're a man of God, and I trust you. And you see what God says. Well, I did. Now, how did I go about that? What did I do? By the way, the woman lived for 7 more years and ended up taking care of the man that called me. But that's another story for another time. I don't want to go into that, but I want to go into the seriousness of where we live and who we are and what sometimes we got to do. And you're looking for answers and you don't know how to do it, or you're listening to somebody on television and they say some really great things, and that's wonderful, but you're in a situation where you need answers, and you need them now. And how do you approach it? So let's go to the cleansing. The cleansing. In Exodus 3:5, it says, God said to Moses, Moses, you stand on hollow ground. Take off your sandals. Moses, take off your sandals. You're on hollow ground. So I realized that just talking to God and just talking to Jesus hasn't worked for anybody. So I realized that they're coming to me now as a conduit, and I take that very serious. So I go home, and what I do is I cleanse myself from anything that I think that I've done wrong. And I said, Lord, I believe I'm living right. Have I done anything wrong? Have I been mean to anybody? Have I spoke out of turn, Father? Have I insulted anybody? Do I need to apologize to anybody? Lord, help me. Am I holding bad feelings towards somebody right now? Somebody I haven't met in years? I need to be cleansed, Lord. And I know a lot of people out there have prejudice. And if you've got prejudice, this doesn't work. You got to like the man that's another color. And you got to like the woman that's another color. And you've got to love them as if we were all the same color. And just because your neighbor's done something really bad to you a lot of different times, you got to love them. You don't love what they've done. You don't love what they do. In fact, maybe they're just a pain in the neck. But you can love them for who they are, not the devil that's inside them. And you can pray for them because at one time they were a child and they were a toddler and they were a baby and they were innocent, and you don't know what they've gone through. You haven't walked that walk. You haven't talked that talk. You don't know. So first of all, what you have to do is cleanse yourself. Lord, do I have any ill feelings going back 50 years? No. Do I have any ill feelings going back 20 years? Lord, if I start saying names, if I feel bad towards them or get ill feelings towards them, Lord, please take it away. And then I get to the point where I'm good. I'm good. And I can pray to God. Now, why would I do all that? Because I'm coming to a holy God, and I'm on hollow ground, and I got the Bible in my hand, and I'm at home, and either I'm in my closet, or I'm downstairs, or I'm up in the bedroom. But now it's getting serious. Somebody's in the hospital, somebody's dying, and they came to me to pray. And I'm going to go up to that hospital, and I'm going to go into that room, and I have been laughed at before, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me. Because by the time I get there, I'm all built up, and I have expectation, and then I'm waiting on an answer. And if God gives me the answer, I'm going to tell the answer before they walk out of there. Now let me share this with you. So here we go. Now I've now cleansed myself. I don't know of anything that I've done wrong, anything that I've said to anybody. I don't know if I owe anybody an apology. I feel like, okay, I'm good. I'm in a good situation here. I'm ready to go. Now, what does it say about faith? Well, I go to Hebrews 1. And When I go to Hebrews 1, then I read what faith is. And then I understand faith. And then after I've got that down and I've went over it, and yes, I've read it 1,000 times, but what I'm going to do at this point, and I'm going to read Hebrews 1, is what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to absorb it and think about it and see if the Lord speaks to me in a different way. Now, after I've gotten through Hebrews 11:1, then I'm going to expect. What do you mean expect? A lot of people go to the Lord and they say, well, I need my grandfather to live and he should have another 15 more years left in him. And if it wasn't for this car that hit him, he'd be all right. But I need a miracle. Well, what do I do? How do I say it? What happens? The doctors are saying terrible things right now. By the time I hit that room, I know what God has said to me. So now I'm expecting. I'm expecting. This is another level of faith. When you go out to your car and you turn the key and you got a good battery and you got a good car, you know it's going to start. When you go up to your light and you hit the switch and you go into the kitchen or the living room, you know it's going to light. You are in the you know of faith. I know what faith is. I know what it can do. Now, when you walk up to your Buick and it's 2 years old and it's cold outside and you hit the ignition and it starts right up, you were expecting it to start. Now, there's a big difference. If you're praying for, oh God, please, oh God, help me, oh God, this situation is too much for me, oh God, I hope he'll live, oh God, I'm hoping and I'm hoping and I'm hoping, you're not expecting. But if you're expecting and you've already prayed to God and you came to God in this fashion, you were standing on holy ground. When I was a young man and I would come to my father and I'd say, I need the keys to the car. I said, I'm planning on going out tomorrow night. Now, during the week, you better bet I didn't cross my dad. I didn't cross my mom. And I was doing the best that I could. And then when I'd approach my father would say, sure. Why? Because I was in line with my father. So before you go and you pray, you must be in line with your father. Now, when you're in line with your father and you're going out on your wife and you need your father to see to it that your grandpa walks out of that hospital, I don't think you're in a very good situation. You are not on hollow ground. You see what I'm saying? So you must be sanctified, set apart, and cleansed before you start for the prayer of a miracle. Otherwise, you're just coasting. Say, for example, okay, all that's true, but you're going out on your wife. And then you're saying, oh Lord, save my grandpa. Or what do you expect is going to happen? Well, what is it? You expect the other prayers are around you or are going to shelter you for that miracle? Well, good luck with your grandpa. Now, God can do it, but will he do it? And will he tell you what he's going to do? And will he explain it to you? Do you know that he can? Do you know that he will? If you do the right thing and follow the right path. This is serious, serious prayer. This is prayer for a miracle. So now you're walking in with expectation. Now that you've walked in with expectation and you pray the prayer, God's going to reveal something to you. And you go, oh, wow, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to tell Grandpa, well, you're going to walk out of here and everything's going to be just fine. Maybe not. Did you hear it? Did God talk to you? He will. You say, oh, I don't know if I believe that. Usually the way it goes is like this. Before I go in there, unless I have to go like that day, then I try to do all this stuff just as fast as I can. But when I'm going to go in there, this is a serious business, and I want to be on the right foot with God. I want to be in the right situation with God. I want to be ready. See, I'm trying to be a vessel, and a vessel holds things. If your vessel has a crack in it, you're not a very good vessel. If your vessel is filled up with a bunch of sin and carrying on, then how much Jesus can you hold in that vessel? How much power from the blood of the cross can you hold in that vessel? Okay, let's go from there, because we're going to go into this deeper later, but not now. So now that you've went through all that, then you sit down and you pray and you're waiting. Okay, I'm going to go see Grandpa, and I want to answer before I get there. Well, can't get an answer. 2 days go by, no answer. Well, I sat down and I prayed for 15 minutes. Well, that's nice. That's nice. I've prayed for 15 minutes. Well, I sat down and I prayed for half an hour. Oh, that's nice. That's good. I prayed with a whole group of people. We prayed for 2 hours. Are we talking about your grandpa? We're talking about your grandpa. He's pretty important, isn't he? He's not my grandpa, but you know what? If you put that on me and I'm going to go there, then I'm going to go through the steps that I know that work. And I might pray about him and go do something else, come back, pray about him, go do something else, and then I'm looking at my Bible and I fall asleep and my face is in the Bible. My face is in the Bible. Are you willing to do that? Are you ready to do that for your grandpa? Are you ready to do that for a miracle? It's not a bad thing. It's actually a wonderful thing. And a lot of times in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll go, I know just what to do. I know just what to say. I'm ready to go. Where's the car? I know it's going to start. I got faith. So you start the car and you go, and God's put something on you and you share it. Now, when you get there, that's another story. That's another story. I've had to chase people out of the room before. As I looked around the room, and my aunt was going to die this one time, and everybody was in the room. They loved her and everything. And I said, I believe she's going to be healed. And we're going to pray for that, and she's going to be healed, and that's it. God told me. And then I had to say to him, now I know there's people in this room, and you're praying because you want it to be. You're praying because you love her. You're praying because somebody else came in with you. And I don't hold it against you, but if you got any of those feelings, just leave. I'll pray by myself. And they go, what are you talking about? I said, we must be of one accord. I prayed in the proper way for this. I sanctified myself. I came in here to pray, and this is between God and me. And I hope you, if you're in one accord with me, do you believe that she's going to be healed? And pretty soon, we were able to pray. There was enough of us to pray, and we prayed. And she lived over 7 years. Good life. A very good life. I mean, no restrictions. And then God just took her after 7 years. It's one of God's favorite numbers, but we wish she was still around today, but she passed. But it was 7 more years, and the doctors said she didn't have any. And she went into a coma, and she looked like she was dead for weeks. But that's another story. I'm not going there. What I want to share with you, and we'll go back down through this in the next chapter, in the next section, but what I want to share with you is my father, who was born in 1928. Now I'm going down through my family tree, and I'm at my father right now, and I want to share the miracles so that I don't miss any miracles. And so if anybody watches this, they'll be able to see what miracles has happened in the family, and then in my life, and then in the church. And so they'll be able to follow this like a story. This is my story. So my father was born on December 13th, 1927. And when he was born on Friday the 13th, the nurse picked him up and dropped him, which caused him to have nerve damage for the rest of his life. And I know it sounds like it's impossible that this would happen on Friday the 13th, but it's the only child that lived that my grandmother was able to have. So he had palsy for his whole life. And when he was young, he shook like this, and he couldn't hardly hold a cup to drink out of. But through much work, he could get to a place where you couldn't tell. It was a minor miracle. It was a miracle to us. My father could not walk, and the doctors told him and told my grandmother, this baby will not walk. So she'd take him to another doctor. This baby will not walk. So she'd take him to another doctor. This baby will not walk. And my grandmother said, oh, yes, he will. Oh, yes, he will. Oh, yes, he will. And my grandmother would not listen to the doctors. First of all, don't always listen to the doctors. Take their medicine, do what they say, pray about it. But there is the great physician that we can go to, that when the doctors don't know what to do, we can go to him. There is the great physician that made us in the first place, and he knows how to fix us. So Grandma decided she was going to wrap towels around him, and she would wrap a towel around him. She would hold him up, and he would walk around the furniture, and she would tell him what a good job he was doing. And she would praise him. And she said, oh, you can walk and you're just doing so great. Of course, he couldn't. She was holding him up with towels as he walked around like a normal child was. And she had the great patience with him because he was trying to pick things up, but he'd shake because he was dropped at birth. One day, he was almost 4 years old, and Grandma and Grandpa were laying in bed, and they heard the piano. And my grandfather, as a toddler, loved the piano. And they could hear the piano, and somebody was banging on it. My grandmother looked over at my grandfather, and my grandfather looked over at my grandmother, and they said, it's Tommy. Tommy's playing the piano. And they got up and they ran out there, and Tommy had got up out of his bed, walked over there, played the piano, and then in front of them, he walked away from the piano and he walked over to the furniture. He was able to walk then for the rest of his life until later in life, in his 60s, he had a cane, and then he had to be in an electric cart. But all those years, he was able to walk. It was the power of God. And it was also, remember Grandma? Well, Grandma wouldn't give in. She believed in God. She kept praying. She told the doctors, no, my son will walk. My son will walk. And she prayed. And she prayed. And she showed great faith. And she showed great faith. Later on, when I had asthma, and I was a child, and I couldn't go out and play with the other kids, and I had to stay at the block building on recess because I'd have an asthma attack. And the doctors told my mother I had severe asthma, and I had a friend that died from it. And my grandmother told me, she said, you pray to Jesus. This is what you do. You pray to Jesus. And I prayed to Jesus. She said, you're going to not have asthma. You're going to outgrow it. And at 11 years old, I outgrew it. Now, these are two miracles that happened in our family, and I wanted to share it with you. And when people say, well, the thing of it is, I never see a miracle. I don't know what a miracle is. I hear about miracles, but I've never seen one. I've never been in one. What do I do? How do you go about a miracle? This is what I do. Now, I'm sure there's other people that have other things that they do. And I'm sure that you've maybe watched a miracle on TV or in a movie, but this isn't a movie. This is just a man sharing with you his walk. Well, we're going to talk more about this, and we're going to be in Hebrews 11:1, and this was the warm-up to it. And yes, my father walked, and he talked the talk, and he walked the walk, and so did Grandma, and they lived on faith.